Shh, easy, don't move. It'll be over soon. Help is not on the way. Your life was worth a great deal, my lord. Contract calls for your death. It's nothing personal.
Why should Witchers limit themselves to killing the monsters of the continent, when there are humans and non-humans who deserve to die as well? It is believed by the other Witcher schools that this was the idea behind why the Viper School was created. But they were wrong. In contrast to the other schools of the Bear, Cat, Griffin and Wolf, the School of the Viper didn't directly originate as an offshoot of the Witcher Order. Instead, the School of the Viper has its origins in the School of the Bear. A few years to a few decades after the Bear School was founded, there had been an internal conflict, one which almost resulted in the death of Arnagat, the founder of the School of the Bear. A Witcher named Ivar Evil-Eye wanted to take things into a different direction. The Witcher mutations were received well by Ivar, so well in fact, that he was chosen to receive some more of them, similar to how Geralt of Rivia would undergo more mutations. But in the case of Ivar, the extra mutations were only partially completed, which had a side effect, resulting in the eye that gave him his moniker. With his eye, he could see across the spiral how ghostly riders killed, conquered and kidnapped people from different worlds. These visions haunted Ivar. In fact, he would become obsessed with them. A few fellow Bear Witchers believed in Ivar and his goals, to one day put an end to these ghostly riders, and followed him when he rebelled against Arnagat, almost killing the Bear Grand Master. Ivar and his Witchers headed further away from the north, towards the southeast, where the Tir Torchair mountain range is located. In this mountain range, they made their home in Gorthur Gvaed, a keep located in an almost impenetrable location. There was only a single path to the keep, a bridge spanning a large chasm. The moat is several hundreds of feet deep, and at the bottom one can find something that once resembled water before a foul stench took over. The only way to cross this moat was via a bridge, in the middle of which stood a tower adorned with a large stone viper that was curled around it. The viper statue made for an impressive display when one went to the Viper Keep, but not many besides the Viper Witchers went there, as they were perhaps the most secretive of the 5 Witcher schools found across the north and south. The other Witcher schools only heard rumors about the School of the Viper, and once every while they would meet one when going further south. The Viper Witchers had adopted a completely different style of fighting than the other Witcher schools. Instead of using regular swords, they would use 2 small blades, which were coated in poison. These blades are often referred to as Viper's Fangs, and they are most probably the most obvious reference the school has to the beast it was named after. The reason that the Viper School is focused so much on poison probably has to do with the fact that maybe Ivar was convinced that poison could hurt the spectral riders he saw. In combat, the Viper Witchers would often focus on overwhelming the target with rapid strikes, as they didn't need to cut deep. A shallow cut with the right poison would do what it was meant to do just fine. It seems like the training in the School of the Viper is focused on being able to do what you are told, and to be prepared to take out things you hold close to yourself when it needs to happen. This can be seen in their training. When a young boy arrives at Gorthur Gvaed, they receive a pet to take care of. They'll often grow to have a close bond with their pet as they undergo their training. But before a Viper adept can become a Witcher, they receive a final task: to kill their pet in cold blood. It is a very harsh task, meant to teach the young Vipers to deal with the loss and prepare for the hard choices they may need to make while out on the path. Viper Witchers, once they have completed their trials, would go out to kill monsters. But not just monsters, for Vipers were known to also take out contracts on humans and non-humans, which would often pay quite well. In fact, most of the Viper Witchers weren't even aware of the school's original reason for being founded. Ivar had kept the true reason somewhat hidden, as creating a school to deal with spectral riders would most likely be mocked by others. But many Viper Witchers did have their suspicions, as the library of Gorthur Gvaed held plenty of books about the Wild Hunt. As time passed, it were the actions of the Viper Witchers, together with the Cat Witchers, which led to people believe that all Witchers were assassins. Something which the schools of the Griffin, Wolf and Bear were not, as they still focused on taking only monster contracts, at least most of the Witchers from these schools. The Viper School became known as a popular group of expert assassins in the south, often taking out noblemen in exchange for large sums of coin. In fact, they became so known for killing that eventually the usurper, the Emperor of Nilfgaard, wanted to make them part of his army as personal assassins. The Viper Witchers however refused, which angered the Emperor. Eventually, the usurper would find the hidden location of the Viper Keep. Many of the Viper Witchers would joke that they only found the location due to the stench of the water at the bottom of the moat around Gorthur Gvaed. The usurper sent his army in to attack the Viper Keep, for if these expert assassins wouldn't join him, he would rather have them not be around, rather than for someone to hire them to kill him. The attack on the castle was a bloody massacre. A lot of Nilfgaardians died that day, as they fought with the Vipers on the bridge to the keep. It was said that in fact so many soldiers died that a new bridge could be made out of their corpses. Eventually, however, the usurper succeeded and defeated the Viper Witchers. He banned all survivors from entering cities and made them wanted fugitives. There weren't a lot of Viper Witchers left after the usurper had destroyed their home, but the few that remained wanted to restore what they had lost, being prepared to go to great lengths to do so. Eventually, the Viper Witchers would work for Emir var Emreis, after he had overthrown the usurper. They were promised their school would be rebuilt if they completed the task that Emir gave to them: to kill the kings of the northern realms. At least 4 Viper Witchers went on the path to assassinate rulers, starting around 1270. The group was led by Letho of Gvaed, and while they would eventually partly succeed in their goals, their first attempt was a failure, as an unnamed Viper Witcher was killed by Geralt of Rivia when he attempted to kill Foltest, the ruler and king of Temeria. Letho would later finish the job that the other had failed, as well as kill the ruler of Aedirn. The group would have been able to kill even more kings if it wasn't for the certain intervention of Geralt of Rivia, who was out to clear his name after he was falsely accused of killing Foltest. The Viper Witchers managed to kill at least 2 kings in the north, destabilizing it enough for Emir to attack and start the Third Northern War. And whilst the Viper Witchers were what allowed Emir to strike, they wouldn't be rewarded. In fact, to Emir they were nothing but pawns. He never had any intention of rebuilding their school, and even went as far as to send bounty hunters after the few remaining Viper Witchers that are still out there. The School of the Viper is almost completely extinct by now. The founder has passed away, a few decades before Witcher 3, and he would never see the Wild Hunt he so despised defeated. Kolgrim, another Viper Witcher, died in White Orchard after being falsely accused of killing a boy. Serret, Ox, and the unnamed assassin would all die while hunting kings. The fate of Letho of Gvaed is up to Geralt's choices, if he decides to spare him or not. And then there are 2 other Viper Witchers, about who we do not know if they are still alive or not. The first is Warred, the blind Witcher who sees through hearing, in a way similar to echolocation. The second Witcher is named Gering of Kharkiv, a Witcher who was hired to kill a mage and the monster Maugrim, for which he forged a sword by the same name. It is possible that there are few more out there, but like most other Witcher schools, they are almost completely extinct and are standing on their last leg, trying to rebuild what they have lost. But what do you think of the School of the Viper? Till the next video. Bye.